reconciliation and the parliamentarian.
They'll probably be back before Thanksgiving.
Who the
But
hell would be talking about the infrastructure bill if you really believe that
back
both
before
sides
Thanksgiving.
But
But
like if you infrastructure bill, even the Democrats, let's say I agree with the infrastructure bill, then pick a random sorry Pat Leahy. Okay, Pat and Senator Leahy came up with. But if I thought Senator Leahy ate babies, I wouldn't vote for him because I don't want to help a guy who's doing a horrific murder and cannibalism. And guys, for the rest of us that live in the real world, the rational world, it's hard for us to understand. That's why we think this story is funny. But to them, they really weren't. Oh my God! It turns out Flynn was a Satanist, and they didn't see Satan is so smart. He put in Flynn to agree with us
Sunday
on
morning,
everything,
relaxing by the
and
pool.
then to tell us about the sevenfold rays and the legions.
Lock it.
Oh, it must be Flynn. And Flynn's like, no, it's not me.
And
these are the people we're having a debate with in theoretically the most developed nation in the history of Earth.
And that video I made by the pool is pretty one-sided. I'm just basically bitching about step functions and how they lead to lock-in. Now, step functions have their place, I feel. And I think the pros of them is that you get a nice illustrated, clear-cut flow diagram. And even in my trivial types of functions, I feel...
Okay, go ahead, prove that you're not a Satanist, Mike Flynn.
hello. Welcome, Earthlings, to the return of Illusions Exist. That's what this is. And yeah. So I took a vacation. I just had a vacation. Oh, that's the sound of La Palma still playing that, going like crazy stuff there. So we'll silence that. Now, I've landed my stratospheric code laboratory, and I'm working from the ground at the moment. But or vacationing on the ground is what I've been doing. Now, some people have said in the past that, hey, you should tell people when you're going to take a break. And that's probably true. But here's the thing, you guys, and we're going to talk a little meta here as I come back. And the thing is this, well, which part to start with? Basically, there's a principle, the 70-20-10 rule, that says that people listen 70%, or what people react to, rather, is 70% how you look, 20% how you sound, and 10% what you say, right? And I'm into the 10%. If something looks really good and sounds really good, I still only care about the 10% because, right, if something looks really good, sounds really good, and has a shitty idea, that's what's getting pumped out of there. And I've seen this many times in my own life where, I got into quantum mechanics in the 80s, and I'm trying to explain to people for years and years, what this weirdness is about, and it's pretty interesting. And I had trouble explaining to people. They'd listen and go, that sounds trippy, but they couldn't quite get it usually. Some people, but usually they couldn't. And this goes back pre-internet, so there's nothing to look up online even. And if you did, it wouldn't be, a really great head start. You're either getting some weird narrative about what it is, or you're reading a scientific paper that's practically incomprehensible, right? Well, then that silly movie, What the Bleep, comes out, and, it looked good and sounded good, and even though the 10% of what they were saying, was at best like half of that, so 5% was accurate, people suddenly got it. So yeah, you need to have that packaging to go out to the popular culture. Another example is in philosophy. There's, I want to say ancient, but anyway, I don't really remember the origin of this statement of it, but its roots go back a long time. But a brain in the vat, thought context, an abstract context. And I explained that for years and years, and people were like, well, that's crazy. Right. That we could be in a dream, or that we could be in a scientist's laboratory, in this case, being fed all the same information we're getting from our eyes. It turns out our eyes are just from this scientist's, electrical feeds. Nobody got it. Then the Matrix came out. Well, it looked good, it sounded good, and so people got that package. And they weren't necessarily any more interested in learning this concept of what if the world was imaginary than they were when they were just getting a more philosophical description of the concept to think through. Since it looked good and sounded good, though, the little tiny package came with it, and they conceived of it. They understand now. If I'm talking to them, what if we're in a dream? I could say, what if we're in the Matrix? And even if they don't like the movies or haven't even watched them, they probably get it. Anyway, a lot better than they used to. So the thing is, I'm here for the 10%. I don't want to have a following or a monetization. Like I say, I'm going to monetize because reasons is the plan. But I don't want to make a living off this. I don't want a following. I think that's lame. And one thing that I'm not going to do is spruce this up. Now, some of it is just a practical matter of, I work 60 hours a week, usually 40 hours for a client and then 10 to 30 for myself. This last year, I've been working 50 and 60-hour weeks for the client. I don't have time to try to turn this into, a monetized consumer thing where the entitled viewer is entitled to every little thing correct. It is what it is. So when I get feedback, for example, I got a comment about, because of the production quality, it's a bottom of the barrel show and you'll never get a following. I don't want a following because that's lame. And I know. But I also know that you're really complaining because you didn't like some of the ideas. And you could do us all a favor by attacking those ideas if you want to attack, or just give feedback on the ideas. I don't just say, hey, I believe in this, you should too. I say, here's why I believe in this. I don't expect you to agree with every step of that explanation, but what you can do is go find the steps where we start to disagree, and you give me that information back, and then I get some information. And I might feel embarrassed because you make such a good point that I realize that my point was in fact bad, but that's good. I'm into that. If I have to face that hard realization, I have many times expanded my views when that happened, several at least, on YouTube, and I'm sure there's a lot more than the ones that I tend to remember, because I do memorize those events because they're interesting and their growth, and that secures you into the new version of your idea. But as I said, it's really, to me, the public dialogue, the non-monetized public dialogue, the ideal one, is about putting things on the table. We're not going to end these debates that have sometimes been for centuries or even thousands of years in philosophy. We're just getting things on the table. Certain things can be taken off the table because things are changing our understandings. We don't end up agreeing on the whole thing, but we can start to agree that certain things need to be off the table. So, for example, even if a person believes in a God, they could say, but let's take God off the table because we all have our own versions of, we're different religions, and even in the same religion, we have different conceptions and ecumenical and doctrine-based disagreements that could be very, very serious. Now, some people just say things like another commenter was, that and Menhem has better politics than me, even though he's crazy or his physics is, well, that's a little bit better because, I know what politics you must be talking about because I was talking about immigration, I believe. Maybe. Was that the video? So it's a little, so I get an idea, but you didn't quite hit the nail on the head, and you didn't talk about any of the reasons I said I'm for immigration. And you want to act like, well, there's nothing to say about it because it's, unjustifiable. But I justified it. Since I gave you the parts of the justification, you could shoot down those parts, and that's actually piercing. And I will be convinced if you do it in a way that, convinces me. I will admit it and change my mind, and I'll tell you, just like I did with Casino McCool on the nature of pi as a number, or on mental health rights activism, like I learned from who was that? Oh, gee, she changed her names a bunch of times. Mel's basket case, and I'm eager. That's like the reason I'm here. It doesn't happen all the time. The other reason is just to get these ideas on the table and discuss them. So if you like an idea and you think my production qualities are shit, then you're likely to say something in an entirely different way, like constructive criticism, like, hey, how about do this? Make your picture bigger, make it smaller, don't use the sun, put the words on the top, whatever you think. But it's going to come across different, right? I could tell certain kinds of criticisms are not like let's say I was obese and somebody said, well, you're just a fat retard. I know that that's not the issue that you're disagreeing with. So just say, because if you want to actually have an impact like you're trying to have, well, it's easy. Just be specific on the ideas that make it absurd or ridiculous what I'm saying. And, you might hit a home run. And even if I don't think so, everybody else reading the comment or watching your video would think that. I don't expect this to actually happen. I'm just telling you that when people come to a channel that's maybe monetized in the future, depending how that goes, but isn't even monetized, you're not a supporter, there isn't possible to support this channel, and you act entitled about whether I'm attractive to look at or whether I handle, OBS Studio correctly or as well as I can. It is what it is. And I want to do some of those things. Like, I probably should say, hey, I'm going to take a break. And I probably should get better and better with the microphone. Not having it muted, because I mute and unmute it because I don't want my breathing noises or anything. And Melinda, that's right, Faith. Mel's basket case was Melinda. And she's still got a channel now, and she does other things, and she's great. One of the true people I definitely learned a lot from on YouTube. Out of, I don't want to limit it to the half dozen, because there's a lot. Faith, you as well, or would be an example. We've been having a lot of conversations I've learned growing. That's been a positive part of it. But I mean, I can remember a few certain things. Bark Lord on the origins of science. I didn't totally go over to his idea, but he definitely profoundly affected my idea, and on and on. And so I will do that if somebody's really trying to do that. But if people are just trying to throw stones, then there's better ways that would be more effective for you and more useful to me as well. And maybe that's why you don't do it, to throw those stones. Because if you do something particularly shallow, even if it was sincere, I'd be able to tell the difference between that and one that's really about something else. About, oh, we don't like your idea on immigration, so I'm going to act like it's about your mic problems. I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? So I am going to start the stream up again. I'm going to have a vacation. We'll be offline in December. We'll see. That'll be probably the next time that I should announce. As far as being gone for a day or two, well, I'm visualizing this as a daily stream or a multiple times a day stream, but we're working our way up to that. So being gone for a day or two. But if I know I'm going to leave and it's going to be like a week or 2 weeks or something, I would like to remember to say, hey, we're going off the air. We're having the next season's coming up. Whatever notice of some sort, that would be useful, right? But if I don't do it, hey, this is me trying to take as little time as possible. You got to take the time for the stream. This has been, 15 minutes. So that's 15 minutes, but I've been thinking about what I would say. I didn't know I was going to stop the stream. I had my siblings were visiting, a couple siblings, fantastic. I did think about the stream, but I thought, maybe I'll have him on, or maybe I'll make a late night one or whatever. We'll see it. Really, I knew I wasn't gonna. Excuse me, Bert. See, has no effect on what I'm saying. Um, but in retrospect, it's like, oh, that's the kind of time I might as well just say, hey, taking a break. I could always drop in a little stream during the break, and that would make more sense. And that's a sense in which why I'm trying to structure this more like society expects as a show, which is why I'm saying I think I'll turn on some kind of monetization, but I can't really be bothered to go look at Twitch and find out what bits are and stuff. If I'm really serious about that, I'm thinking of hiring a part-time college student or web social media person. That maybe that's what you do. If I'm serious enough to do that, it's more likely I'd hire somebody extremely part-time to do it than do it myself, because I got things going on. But I like making these streams. I'm willing to facilitate them. But we're also trying to condense the time of the stream down into what it takes to do the stream, because also the benefit is that makes the 10% the most important part. And for people that don't want to come to something where it's the 10% of what you say, and if anything, how you look and sound distracts from that, then they shouldn't be here. But some people that do appreciate making something that looks and sounds good, in this sort of genre or idea space, with something that looks and sounds good that uses the ideas I'm liking to discuss. Well, I know for a fact that some of those artistic types do like the raw data. That helps them for their ideas. That gives them something that's worth making look good and making sound good, right? And you don't have to give me credit. And you might make something that looks and sounds good that totally is against my ideas. My ideas could cause a negative reaction in you, and then it's the negative reaction that is the 10% of this thing you make that looks and sounds good, and I consider that positive. Now, would I rather you not contradict something I'm saying? Well, probably, because by definition, that's my belief. I would love to see, the idea that you shouldn't separate children from their parents just because they're refugees be super popular. And if you take the opposite idea, then yeah, that's not the greatest thing for me in an immediate sense, but it's part of the public dialogue that we're stitching together. And I don't want people to agree with each other that we should build a wall and immigration should be stopped. But if that's how people believe, better that it gets out and on the table, because then in that case, what would be a minority of people can at least honestly engage in the conversation about that subject. And if it ever comes to my side of the table, it may not, but it'll be through an open dialogue. And this is the point of a free speech democracy. And for that matter, even a regulated speech republic, that's how evolution takes place, because we always have new generations and people need to be heard. They recapitulate the old ideas in new ways, and they reevaluate old ideas in new ways. Allowing immigration to me is a crucial part of American culture. It is almost like a nutrient source, right? And the negative side of it would be that American culture eats up other cultures. If a Muslim family is planning to refugee immigrate to the United States and thinks that we're going to become a Muslim nation, rest assured they're going to be watching Britney Spears and zombieing on their phones just like American kids do. They're going to get dissolved into the soup. It's not going to become an Islamic soup. Their influence is going to be diluted, and I say that because that's what's happened for 250 years. That's what happens. That's how that works. We have seen that happen. That's American culture. Whether you can explain it or not, that's how it goes. And on the progressive side, people say I'm too right-wing because part of it is economic. Our economic system is based on a kind of growth that isn't just your own children. It's new, fresh perspectives of people willing to work in the kind of environments that, oddly enough, Americans themselves resist. Americans, to become American is to become more entitled, more indulgent, more consumerist about how many and what kind of things, what car do you have and how many cars, and do you have an extra home, and it's all of these kinds of things that in themselves are not that great even. But there's nothing to worry about preserving there because that happens naturally. If anything, we should probably be worrying about how to make the American culture that results in entitlement better so that people do want to pick grapes and they're paid enough to go ahead and have a family, and if they like picking grapes they won't be also choosing slavery. But right now I don't see a lot of Native Americans that want to go out and compete with being a live-in nanny or picking raspberries. And if they are out there, because certainly there'll always be some, well, why in the hell wouldn't they be able to do it? How would a Native American speaking West Virginia not be able to go out to California and pick grapes in the summer if that person wanted to? They would. And if they are outcompeted, well, then maybe they weren't, good enough or wouldn't accept a low enough pay. And if it's like, yeah, well, of course they wouldn't accept a low enough pay because these migrant workers are accepting almost nothing. Well, then create a minimum wage then for those migrant workers, one that an American could accept, because you're just exploiting these people's economies in their home country in that case. Now, I go into this, even though I said it was meta, because that's an actual discussion. There's other side. I could just put on my contrarian hat and argue the other side of every little point that I just made. And if you want to impress me with how sharp your barbs are, then you have to go to that space. Because in terms of whether I chose a good picture of the X-ray sun, or maybe my Discord invite is worn out and it doesn't work but nobody will tell me, or nobody knows what MCW cam is, or illusions exist makes them think it's woo, or whatever, yeah, I'll listen. I care in that I'm interested, but I don't care in that I'm not trying to look to get your approval on something that you have, why would I? This is about putting it on the table. And the answer of why would I is because you put something on the table. But if you put nothing on the table, but just goes, oh, your table's dirty. Yeah, no shit. So, anyway. Now, I know the Discord is dead, but it hasn't never come to life yet. It needs people. Now it's a Discord. People could talk to themselves. I will go on there and answer people. If I have to keep it alive, then again, that's the kind of thing, maybe I could hire a social media person to keep it alive and do a hello message. This is not a business, so it's kind of hard to justify something like that. Maybe I will do it as a hobby investment or something, but I wouldn't bet on it. If people go on that Discord, they could come on this stream. You don't want to come on the stream or whatever? So, okay. But I'm supposed to make it alive. It's the thing called the network effect. If people go there and have discussions, then there'll be discussions there. I have to put it up. I have to create it, to set all the settings just to make it even possible. So, again, these are opportunities. It used to be that you go on YouTube before monetization, you'd say something giving people the opportunity to counter you or agree with you, but generally, obviously, it's going to be a counter points that's how I visualize it. You're giving them an opportunity to do that. If they don't do that, well, that's sad. That's what I want them to do. But if they're going to go, oh, I need a certain special environment, I'm like a little egg and I need an exact temperature for an exact period of time in order to hatch, well, then good for you. I mean, I'm not going to sit on the nest. That's not my job. So it's an opportunity. And why am I doing it? Because I like the public dialogue. And as far as I'm concerned, this is like a dark ages of the public dialogue. We had a video thing that provided a sort of half email, a half live, face-to-face thing. It worked. You'd get feedback. And because they're so dominant, nobody else has been able to take over the sub-niche of what we did. And of course, YouTube went to make PewDiePie. So they're like, this is how we monetize this successfully. And so we need some software. We also need a cultural attitude probably, but I think that could happen with some software. And all we can do in the meantime is start to create those opportunities to have that conversation. It does happen, but to have it again in a broad way, because we're a subculture, but there's millions and millions of us around the world. If everybody that's into this kind of conversation could have some sort of cross current, I don't want them to be on one centralized place, but let's say it was a distributed version of a centralized place, so that no matter where you went to the conversation, the conversations were also connected. Well, that's what we need. And if somebody wanted to fund me, I could probably make a website like that, but it wouldn't be that cheap. It probably costs $100,000 or something. So other than that, I'm just going to try to find the services that help out with it. Right now, I think Discord is one of those, but I also think, it's not necessarily a long-term solution, just like YouTube wasn't. But maybe we'll never have a long-term solution. We'll just stitch together short-term solutions. But right now we're kind of in the dark ages of it, but I'm not going to give up. I don't care. Just because the dark ages came before I died, I'll trudge through those like everything else. And one reason I'll be able to do that is that this is important to me. This is a big part of just like working in politics that's important to me, but it's not my immediate means of survival. Like when push comes to shove and I have to worry about surviving, or you have a medical problem or anything like that, this isn't how I'm getting medical care. This isn't how I'm getting food for the table. This isn't it's a long-term thing. Like philosophy, we've been discussing things for thousands of years. It's innately separate from I'm a carpenter, I'm a programmer, I'm a doctor, I do assisted care living, I own a bookshop. It's different from the immediate, how are you going to make it into, the next year? How are you going to make it through the next year? It's a separate thing. So it's important, but also it's possible to weather the dark ages of dialogue. One way is just stop taking part in the dialogue, and I choose not to take that way. So, yeah, YouTube doesn't want the discussion because that's not the broadcast model. So, YouTube's the new TV along with all the other new TVs, and they're even calling it TV, I notice. So, all right, well, I'm going to get going. This is about a half an hour. I might make one later. I got to do some stuff since I just had this vacation. I got to go prepare I have a truck with a plow. I got to put the plow on because I'm taking it into the guys. I like to look at it every year and stuff like that. I might make another one because while I was thinking of the stream, this wasn't it. This is the, I'm back stream. I thought it'd be good to mix up a meta thing based on just that first point of like, maybe, this is an example of where I should have told people. But I still have a topic for my next stream. I might grab a couple videos to watch together because I like putting that element in. I'm still not sure about how to do that. I mean, cold watching things doesn't turn out exactly like I want. But watching things ahead of time also. So it's weird. There's a bad excluded middle there. But anyway, let me look at a couple comments. I have seen some and talked to them. So Ravel says, have I looked into metamodernism? No, I have not. Faith was saying it was Melinda. Yeah, Mel and her husband Robert. Adorable angel heart. Faith, you're sober 3 weeks. That's great. I've been the last few years I've been like no drinking in the week, and then we go ahead and have a few drinks. We don't get too much so we can't overdo it and stuff like that. But this last week though, I was drinking with my brothers and sisters, so just to be honest, but that's great. That's really good. And you need to cut it down, and I think it's such a slippery, if there ever was a slippery slope drug, it's alcohol, and you kind of have to quit in order to cut down. Like you have to quit in order to figure out the way to do it a little bit. My and it can be impossible to do it a little bit. Maybe that's a false thing, and like the alcoholic creed of like, well, I shouldn't even do a little bit because it's a slippery slope. but it's always hard because like I had a one of the people I visited this week, a 96-year-old great uncle, and my great aunt died just a couple years ago, and they just have one drink, like kind of a stiff cocktail, at like 4 o'clock or tea time, every day, and that was it. And it's hard to do that. It's such a slippery slope drug. But good for you, Faith. I'm really glad for you. That's a definitely important thing. Theodore Hightower, did I see Gary's latest hit piece on his website? No, I did not. If you want to tell me what it was, I might respond to it, but I'm not going to go watch. I'm not going to go to Gary's website. It's impossible to find out what's going on there. It's crazy of what's new. What was the latest thing? I don't. It's annoying, and also he's just rude. Why would I be going there? I'm only watching a little tiny bit of his stuff on YouTube. So what's the point? I gave him too much attention already. If he can't be decent, then what's the point? Oh, good. Spook's doing well. Yeah, I kind of thought he was because I talk to him every once in a while. But you're right. Like a couple weeks, and you're in touch with him more than me. I talk to him every couple weeks, so it didn't. Anyway, good. That's good to hear. Because the other thing is, if he's going to be like, he's got some adventures going on and moving around, you never know. You're always got to be worried a friend gets stuck in Lodi or something. Yeah, Barcloyd says you went there, can't find the video. I don't know if you're talking exactly because I'm reading these old comments. You could be out of context. But probably since I just read the hit piece thing. Yeah, I think I went there at one point, not for that, or maybe he did mention something about that. I went there and I couldn't find it, but I think it was an earlier video he mentioned because he's been making these videos that are just couple-minute videos about there's another video. And I went there and I'm like, I don't know what's new, what's old. These videos have all been up forever. So, yeah, not interested. But also, it's not because it's at his website. It's like even with the, talking to Gary's turned out to be one of the most counterproductive things as far as having a useful ending or resolution, even that, hey, we disagree, but here's the conversation. So it's just been like, what's the point? He's not a fair interlocutor at all. And he knows it. He knows that he's just, like he's trying to create a following. And so then there's these techniques. And then plus 5 minutes of YouTube fame spread out over 15 years is like gone to his head as well. I'm sad. So, all right, that's going to be it for now. I'm over my 30-minute plan for a meta video. It's not going to be a long one, right? Could be, but that wasn't my intent. So, we'll say goodbye. Farewell, Earthlings, for now. I should be back soon, if not immediately. And well, definitely not immediately, but maybe today. But I have other things that I've been. It's like the first real vacation I've had in a long time. I mean, I have gone on some week and 2 week vacations that I count as vacations, but the timing of this was that I actually just didn't worry about stuff, and it's time for me to catch back up, get up to speed. So, but I also think maybe I'll make a video later about this other little topic that I was thinking about, and maybe find something to watch together, because I think that's a good part of what's going on in the stream. I'm trying to get with the kids, do what they did. They have they let you give them bits and subscriptions on Twitter. Oh, I should do that, even though there's nobody over there. Who knows? Maybe. Whatever. Just look to be more regular and not thumb my nose at quite so much of the current culture, because I'm getting old. I'm 53, and maybe I need to go ahead and go with the Romans when you're in Rome a bit. I'm willing to do that a little bit. Of course, it's going to be my flavor. I'm not going to make this where I try to fill out the 70% or the 30%. I'm trying to make it watchable. Not look good, but watchable. So like the muting thing, how it sounds, well, if you're muted yourself, that's bad. So okay, I'm trying not to do that, but I'm just trying to make it watchable and listenable, and then all 10% good ideas. Now 10% of good ideas doesn't mean ideas you agree with. It means 10% of ideas good enough to have an opinion on, including a disagreement. All right, and that's what I'd like to teach you guys. And I'm also going to teach you how things go backwards, how so many things people have backwards, what's specific, what's general, how many logical concepts people misunderstand in a specifically negative pattern. Like it's not just random what they think, but it's like 90% bad. I'm gonna do that, and that's gonna be in the 10%. And if you're the kind of person that wants me to comb my hair to look better instead of not comb it after my shower this morning on a day after a vacation where I'm just recharging from having so much fun, then this isn't for you. But it's still for you as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you could grow. Maybe it's like eating whole wheat bread or something. Maybe you like white bread. You're not used to it. You can either say that's not my kind of thing or get used to it. I don't know. It's up to you. I certainly would love to have you in the conversation, but then only if you're going to be able to put ideas out about the ideas, right? In the 10%. That's where we're working in the 10%. So, all right, a couple more comments, but I wasn't going to read them, but this caught my eye. You look like the guy in the Bittersweet Symphony music video, which I don't know what that is, so. Okay, boomer. Meaning I'm the boomer. All right, but I'm not. I'm Gen X. So coming out of the Gen X dark space here into the light. You're going to face this and realize our generation exists, man. Peace out. Farewell. Farewell.